Joining me now with analysis is Director of the Center for Ethics and Culture at the University of Notre Dame, Carter Snead. Professor Carter Snead, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
Look, I want to talk first about the Vatican's Bambino Gesù Clinic that really is known around the world for their great work. This week they issued a new charter on the rights of what they call incurable children. This is, of course, in the wake of the Alfie Evans case, the Charlie Gard case, where the EU and British courts determined the fate of those children. Tell me how important this charter is now and what it means.
Well, it's certainly an important symbolic gesture on the part of the Vatican and the hospital there at the Vatican. The Vatican and Pope Francis himself and the folks at Bambino Gesù were extraordinarily powerful and prophetic voices in both the cases of Charlie Gard and Alfie Evans on behalf of not just children, but children who are disabled, and a voice against the sort of voices that argued against tolerance of imperfection and those who wanted to make quality of life the benchmark for who lives and who dies. It was a great and proud moment for the church, although a sad result. And this follows on to those interventions, and it's a wonderful statement of principle by the hospital. Of course, it doesn't have any legal force, or it wouldn't have any legal meaning in the courts of the United Kingdom, but it's a very valuable prophetic intervention. And
I'm going to run down some of the rights that they delineate. There are 10 articles. Among them are children with terminal diseases have the right to second opinions, the right to better diagnostic and palliative care, the right to experimental treatments and drugs, and the right to seek care across international borders. Your thoughts on, could this have some impact, given the global attention on these particular cases and the Pope and the Vatican's outreach to the parents in both these cases?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those provisions that you're talking about, and the others as well, really come down to the proposition that children, even children who are gravely ill, even children who will die soon, are entitled to not just the protection of the law, but the care of physicians, the genuine care of physicians, and that no one should abandon these children because some stranger has decided that their quality of life has fallen below an idealized threshold. That really, a lot of people don't understand. There were so many bad things about the Gard and Evans cases, obviously the issue involving parental authority and parental rights and the role of the state. But even more deeply, there were grave problems in that case where the court was animated by a kind of opposition to people with disabilities. They concluded that because the child could not recover, in both cases, could not recover an idealized level of cognitive functioning, it would be illegal to extend that child's life. They declared the life to be a life not worth living and put the force and coercive power of the law behind it. This is a counterweight to that. This is an argument about the dignity of children, and all people, even though they might be very seriously ill or disabled or suffering. We don't abandon them. They're entitled to treatment. They're entitled to care, including palliative care, and palliative care in the real sense, in the sense of providing comfort, not in the sense of withdrawing their life-sustaining measures in order to hasten their death.
I want to ask you about a related story. Gallup is releasing results of a new poll, and it turns out, it indicates that Americans still believe that abortion is morally wrong. At least 48% of them believe that. 43% believe it is morally acceptable. How do you read those results? What do you think is happening culturally?
Well, culturally, I like to think, and I think there's some evidence to support this, that people are coming to the realization that the child in the womb is not only biologically, but morally, and as a matter of basic justice, a member of the human family. And we see that through the great wonders of technology, 4D ultrasound, seeing the faces of these children. Fetal surgery helps us to understand that these children are patients. They're not mere blobs of tissue. They're not merely the object of a choice, some abstract object of choice. I think that has an effect. And I'd like to know more about the empirical findings. I'd like to know how the question was phrased. I'd like to know what people had in mind when they were answering those questions. But my sense, and certainly the sense that I get here at the University of Notre Dame with the young people, especially the young people that interact with the Notre Dame Center for Ethics and Culture, that young people intuitively grasp that everybody counts, and that a law that excludes a segment of the human family from its protection or our moral concern is an unjust law, and that has to change.
I got to get to this before I let you go. This week, a big story, the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith issuing a letter that they've written to the German bishops, which would not allow Protestant spouses of Catholics to receive communion, even if they believe in the sacrament, which was the wish of the German bishops. Your thoughts on this as a teaching for the universal church? Had this been allowed, had the German bishops been allowed to sort of go their own way and grant this right to communion to those who aren't Catholic, it would have absolutely had an effect on the global church and those within it.
Well, you know, again, this is beyond the kind of my expertise. I'm not a theologian, but my layperson's reaction to that is that it stands in relation and is something that we can be proud of alongside Pope Francis's interventions in the Garden Evans cases. In those cases, Pope Francis stood up in a way that no one else did, and it sounds like he made the judgment that this is a line that shouldn't be crossed. And as the leader of our church and the Holy Father, I think we should take that very seriously.
Yeah, very good. Carter Snead, thank you as always for your insights. We'll check back in with you soon.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Finally tonight.